and welcome to another episode of Earth911 Sustainability in Your Ear. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe. We're back with another innovator interview, and this one is really fascinating, folks. We just learned recently about Austin, Texas-based FreeWater Incorporated, and it has a really novel idea to provide water to the approximately 800 million people around the world who don't have access to clean water, and the 3.6 billion people who don't get access to water for roughly a month a year. FreeWater wants to give away water with advertising printed on the carton or aluminum packaging, as well as contribute a share of their revenue to pay for building wells and water systems in Africa. The packaging is recyclable, and the idea is novel, so we invited founder Josh Cliffords on to talk with us today. Josh says that he wants to, and this is a quote, change the experience of giving to charity and giving back to society and make it as simple as drinking a free bottle of water or eating a free slice of pizza. Unquote. So here's how it'll work. The company will provide ad-labeled water to customers such as auto dealerships, gyms, retail locations. And you might walk into a store and there'd be a cooler full of free water with advertising on it that includes a scannable code, a QR code, that would allow the advertiser to close the deal with you. FreeWater earns its revenue from that advertising, and it will give 10 cents for each beverage to water charities. You can learn more about the company at www.freewater.io. Josh, welcome to the show. How are you this morning?
I'm great, Mitch. Thanks for having me.
Well, first, I got to say, this is a fascinating idea. We were talking before we started the record, and I want to dig into this. But first, can you tell us where you are in terms of your progress? Are you currently providing water in commercial locations?
We're currently, yes, we've got some businesses in California, a few cannabis shops, gyms that are distributing the water themselves, and that's more of our B2C model, B2B. And with our B2C model, we're just freely distributing the water locally here in Austin.
So where would somebody find it in Austin?
Well, we've got a shipment of another 5,000 plus beverages coming in a few weeks, and so right now we're kind of guerrilla distributing it. We're still collecting content. We're collecting data. It's actually kind of fun and romantic at the moment. And then we've got subscribers on our website. And when those subscribers are extremely serious, they say, hey, we'll cover the cost of shipping, and we send it directly to them.
Now, this is fascinating. How does the advertising work?
Okay, well, just about anything could be white labeled today. And so the packaging is the ad space. And so when you've got that free product in your hand, if you're inclined to, you could scan that QR code to engage with augmented reality, to collect coupons, to shop, to order food, or download anything, music, movies, TV shows, video games, and software. But we're completely profitable just off the physical ad space. So there's no need to scan a QR code. That's a common misconception. People are like, well, I don't want to have to scan these things to get something free. Nope. You just get the product for free, you save money, and from that happiness or peace of mind of knowing that the product's free, we're trying to do the right thing by the environment and donating to charity, maybe you'll shop.
So, yeah, I don't really think of it as you have to scan in order to get it, but more the matter of, from the advertiser's perspective, what they're getting for paying for the advertising. They'll get better trackability. Is that what that QR code allows?
Not only trackability, but the QR code could lead to any sort of digital infrastructure that the advertiser already has. And so if they have a buy it now scenario on their website, it could lead right to that buy it now scenario. If they've got an advertisement, a commercial, augmented reality, as long as they've got it built, we could direct the audience directly to there. So what they're doing is they're paying for the physical ad space, the physical real estate, and included in that, they get these digital connections.
So when we were talking before we got on the air, you described an environment in which a lot of stuff could be free in the future. And we talked about direct mail. How does what you're building compare to that all the junk mail we get today in terms of performance for the advertiser, so that this becomes a viable advertising model?
So I didn't know this before I got into this industry, but the direct mail industry, junk mail, still has the highest ROI of every advertising medium in the United States. It has a higher ROI compared to Google, Facebook, any cost per click, any cost per million. Junk mail is still the king of the jungle. And studies show that both baby boomers and millennials and Gen Zs alike prefer junk mail because you could deal with it when you feel like it. a pop-up ad or a TV commercial, it's in your face, you have to deal with it immediately. A piece of junk, you could do it whenever you want. And so even though we have these digital connections, we're initially disrupting the direct mail industry. And so in that industry, a free floating piece of junk mail generally costs between 40 and 60 cents, including the stamp. And in that industry, the status quo is to send that person that piece of junk 10 plus times before you decide that you're going to move on and leave them alone. And so you figure, okay, 50 cents a pop, 10 times, that's $5 for 10 impressions. But if we give you a free beverage, a free box of water, for example, you're going to look at it 10 times before you're done drinking it. It's got a 2-year shelf life. It's refillable. It's got these digital connections. It saves you money. It donates to charity. And the junk mail industry is obviously horrible for the environment. Something like 35% of junk mail ends up in the landfill before it's ever even opened.
Right.
And it's responsible for cutting down 100 plus million trees annually.
So let's talk about, you're using both aluminum bottles and cartons right now. And you're planning on switching to 100% hemp cartons. Tell us about, first, where is carton technology today and where are you going to take it?
In our opinion, there isn't really an eco-friendly container on Earth today, unfortunately. And if you speak to the manufacturer, some people have plastic made out of corn or out of sugar cane or other materials, and they're not as eco-friendly as they claim to be. And the lead time is sometimes horrendous. Sometimes it's 18 months if you would like to order those containers, and then you have to fill them, and no advertiser is going to want to deal with that. So in terms of lead time, the aluminum bottle and the paper carton are the most eco-friendly and viable containers today. But they're not as eco-friendly as you think, because these paper cartons, the wood, the trees are cut down in North America, turned into paperboard, sent to Saudi Arabia, often to kind of laminate them with a thin piece of plastic coating, because it's still 92% paper. Then it gets shipped all the way back to the United States to put this aluminum liner in there, because water is very tricky. And unlike milk or juice, you have to have a liner in there because water has no taste, so it'll take on the taste of the packaging. Right. And then it gets shipped to the Netherlands. And then the Netherlands is where they do the printing. And then it gets shipped to the United States, where these tend to be filled and then, distributed and so on and so forth. And somehow that is the most eco-friendly container in the world. And so big picture, our goal is to make the world's first 100% hemp carton. So the plastic cap, the liner, everything is made from one plant. To grow that plant in a single location, to manufacture it and process it into water boxes in a single location, to advertise on it at that location, fill it with water in that location, and to freely distribute it from a single location. Right. And then to pay you with our future cryptocurrency, so our milkmen like people can pick up those packaging so we could dispose of them responsibly.
Now, do you imagine actually going straight to the home with this in addition to offering this in commercial setting?
Yes, so that is a very interesting question. And so free products enable new types of distribution models, which really improve aggregate efficiency. And so I'll give you an example. You've got companies like Coke, Pepsi, Amazon. They build these massive factories around the world. And then they ship that product extremely far. The least eco-friendly example of this is Fiji water. They make it in Fiji and they ship it all the way to you in Washington. And that's extremely bad for the environment, but it's really expensive. And so an amazing thing happens when the product is free, or in this case, better than free plus charity or future cryptocurrency. Everybody's a customer. So instead of building these big, massive factories or fulfillment centers, in the future, we see a micro factory model. And so kind of like you've got a McDonald's on every corner, helping that, serving that neighborhood. Right. We see micro factories. A McDonald's sized facility can manufacture 150 plus million beverages per year, and you'll just service that local community. And so there's two ways that you can do that. Number one, we'll pay you 5 cents for every unit you come pick up from us. So now we're paying you to drink free water, or we'll pay our future ride sharing services 10 cents per unit to deliver it to you within a few mile radius. And so by doing so, our future Uber-like drivers would actually make 4 or 5 times the Uber salary. And or you come and pick it up from us, we pay you to take it away. But that saves us 95% of the current costs of the US Postal Service.
So you're building a recovery process into this as well, which is fascinating. I mean, this is the most comprehensive vision I have heard around this. Now, you're talking water. What else can you do for free with ad support?
Anything that you could currently find in a Costco today will be free within a decade. And that's groceries, clothing, pharmaceuticals, computers, even those cars. And so there's 2 types of free, 2 main categories of free. The other ones are too difficult to explain in such a short period of time.
Sure.
You've got the BVRE category, below the value of real estate, which means, for example, a box of water, the packaging converted into ad space, and those layers of physical and digital ad space. Mm-hmm. It's worth much more than the contents of the container. That category is water, soda, beer, potatoes, onions, vegetables, most vegetarian foods, paper towels, toilet paper. But it could be really counterintuitive. It could be a vehicle. Maybe you bought a $30,000 SUV, an electric car, and a company pays you to wrap advertising on that. They pay you $500 a month, but the cost to operate the vehicle and pay for the bills is less than that. And then you've got everything else. And so you can't make a $100 bottle of wine free by slapping a Nike sign on it. And that's a YouTube model. And so YouTube currently charges 40 cents a minute to their advertisers. And we plan on getting to that point as well too, but we'll pay you 36 of those cents, the audience, and our future cryptocurrency, which means we'll pay you roughly 20 bucks an hour in the future to watch these ads, train AI, help companies with their SEO. And then what can you do with that value? Well, you could hoard it like any other cryptocurrency because it'll go up in value. There's a MacBook Pro on that packaging and you're like, I want to buy it. Boop, you could scan it and make a purchase with it, or you
get credit. You get credit based on how much cryptocurrency you have against that purchase.
Of course, you could cash out. I mean, but so that's how you pay for these bigger ticket items. And so if somebody wanted to go on a trip to Hawaii and they're short $1,000 and they just were determined to go and they had no other means, maybe they would be willing to. It's work at that point to work at 20 bucks an hour to pay for that trip. And so in that model, anything at 40 hours a week with that model, anything that's within $40,000 of expenditures annually is obtainable.
So this is fascinating. In a way, it's almost like multi-level marketing, where you literally become a selling interface on behalf of a company for all your friends and network, or anybody you happen to touch as you move through the day. Now, we were also talking before the conversation that we started recording about how you feel about advertising. How do you feel about the idea of doing that to our life?
I'm personally not the biggest fan of advertising and data. I've actually created other processes to make all these things free in the future, but you would have to be a billionaire to get there, and we're not that today. And so data, I'm also not the biggest fan of Big Brother, but aggregate efficiency, the peak efficiency of American manufacturing has only reached 15%. The peak efficiency of global manufacturing was in Japan in the mid-90s, and that was 20%. So even the most efficient times in humanity, we had 80% loss. And so the only way to bridge that gap and to improve efficiency is to have better data points. And so right now, this is the easiest way to explain it. What's your favorite fruit?
Raspberries.
Okay, and what's your third favorite fruit?
Mangoes.
Okay, let's say you go to your local supermarket and you really wanted some raspberries, but you show up and they look great, but they're really expensive. And then you see some mangoes that are more affordable. They look great. And you see some bananas, apples, and oranges, and they have a great price tag on them. They also look great. You might be inclined to get those mangoes or apples or bananas. And so you go and you get those bananas because that's what was the best deal of the day. And they scan it. Boop, and now they think that you really love bananas. But you don't. You really wanted those raspberries, but they were too expensive. They were too expensive for you. They were too expensive for me. And what happens? They get thrown in the trash, just like 11% of all food in the United States. But we're launching the world's first free supermarket or free Amazon. And so at some point when we cross the threshold of, let's say, the 25 most popular fruits and vegetables in the world, we're going to have the data to know Mitch really loves those raspberries. And so that data is important for the manufacturers, because the manufacturers need to know what to produce, what to grow, where it should be.
By optimizing, by tracking, which we have challenges with that, but by optimizing the economy, bringing it from 15% to 30, 35, 40, in addition to reducing the environmental footprint by actually embracing recycling and recapturing material, we can make a lot more stuff available to people on much easier terms.
Exactly. And so if one day when grocery stores are free in the United States, that would save 10% of food waste alone. In the US, we waste something like $170 billion worth of food a year. But when you think about
more than that, and about 40% of our food ends up in the landfill.
Exactly. And so how much of that meat and dairy, I think it's something like 20% of dairy, for example, gets thrown in the trash. How much of that was a Brazilian rainforest that got cleared to grow that beef, just to have that beef or milk thrown directly in the trash? And so making these things free and accessible will, in theory, improve this efficiency.
Okay, so let's talk about the water programs that you're supporting. Where are you donating money, and how much of your revenue will be going to it on an ongoing basis?
So 10 cents per beverage. Water is donating to water wells. Our second product, when we get to it, will be soda. And soda will donate to something else, and so on and so forth. But right now we're donating all of our money to mainly Well Aware in Austin, which is a grassroots organization. They have a really high efficiency rate on their wells. And so we'll do roughly 100,000 beverages this year.
Okay.
And so that would donate roughly $10,000 to their organization by the end of this year.
And how do you see the integration of charitable or social investment into the design of your products as you think about going into a new community, for instance, or into a new region? Will you be looking at it in the context of how do you optimize solutions to those local problems?
Of course, but everyone has to start somewhere, right? And so, unfortunately, there aren't many advertisers. I mean, I'll get this out there. There aren't many advertisers in the United States that I'm aware of that will advertise to homeless people. I wish there would, but the only ones that I could really think of are maybe churches or mosques or synagogues. And so, but the counterintuitive part is by getting 10% of Americans to save money and drink free water in the future, or any other product that's donating 10 cents or more to these sort of causes, the global water crisis will be solved permanently. And so it's, currently there's more, it's 700 plus million people don't have access to water. They don't need water in a package. They need a water well or a water system. But according to the UN, we're just 1 or 2 hot summers away from maybe up to 30% of the global population not having access to water.
Well, it's clear that this summer, much of the Western United States is going to feel this way, even if we aren't completely short of water. So fascinating. Now, where are you in terms of financing this vision? Because that's a really massive undertaking, as you've repeatedly underscored.
It is. Right now, we're self-funded. And so I've basically put every penny I've had into this project, and it's been a journey. And so.
And do you see the cryptocurrency as part of your immediate future? So does that provide the liquidity to finance the company?
We're not there yet. And so our goal is to get a respectable number of units out in the street, so people know, hey, this is legit. We love this product. They're doing a bunch of great things. And then to launch that, because there's many cryptocurrencies out there that you're not sure if this is legit or a scam. And so you don't want to fall into that category. A lot of those companies launched and raised money before they had a product out there. And you look at these these SPACs in the US stock market, these electric car companies that are, their stock, it drives up to the sky and then they pump and dump it and it crashes. They've never even built a prototype, a lot of them. And so we want to prove that this is possible before we get into a going public situation.
Now, let's talk about where you see the company and the marketplace in 2025 or 2030. How will things have changed if you've been successful?
Well, more than the company, this is a movement. And so I personally don't mind much if our company isn't the leader in the future, and you make the company that solves this problem. And so this is a practically open source movement, and so we're doing our best to obviously make a profit and to do our part to make a compelling case for this, and the world will simply copy. Will everybody go free? Not necessarily, because a company like Coca-Cola, for example, I don't see them making all of their lines free. However, what they will do is they will steal the advertising component of it, and they'll potentially add a charitable piece, because we all know what a can of Coke tastes like. But they could just write Coca-Cola on the lip of the can. And now they could put an ad for an electric Ford truck right on the front of that can. And when someone's like, oh, that's a great deal, I want to purchase that, boop, they'll make hundreds of dollars in commission right there. And so currently today, the most expensive beverage on earth is probably, most expensive bottle of water would probably be $25 at the Olympic Games, let's say. And $20 for a can of Coke at the Olympic Games, whatever that comes out to. They're still going to probably sell you that can of Coke in the future for $20-25, but now they're going to also try to sell you a car or a computer, and so some companies will go, they'll just add more revenue streams to their current for sale products. And I hope that they also add the charitable component as well, since they'll be that much more profitable. But then that doesn't help them on the manufacturing and distribution side, because again, free products enable these new types of distribution models. It's only possible when a product is free. And so I see every fast food being free, the vast majority of supermarkets. Let me explain to you really quickly why 90% of all McDonald's will be free in less than 10 years. Even though I'm not a fan of the burger, but how much do you think it costs McDonald's to manufacture their basic cheeseburger, the one they sell for $1? What's your guess?
12 cents.
No one really knows. Let's say 50 cents just to throw it. Okay. So imagine a world where McDonald's is free, that we both take out our cell phones. I'm in Austin, you're in Washington, and you order that burger. And after you order that burger, your phone plays 3 or 4 commercials in the app. You probably don't watch them, just like YouTube, but YouTube's charging 20 cents for each of those 30-second ads. So will McDonald's. They've already got 80 cents now. They're profitable. And we hop in our cars and we drive to our local McDonald's and we park in the parking lot. And then you take a look at the building and you still see the golden arches, but now you see Nike, 24-hour fitness, Coke, Pepsi, Advil, painted on the wall. That's their next revenue stream. You walk into the building, you see the same thing on the inside wall, and you're standing in line. You don't need to speak or order anything anymore, and you scan that QR code on your smartphone, boop, and they have your order. And now the food comes out, the burger comes out wrapped in ads, napkin covered in ads, bag covered in ads, but every single one of those ads can offer an individualized call to action, a commercial, it could sell you something. And so if they're bringing in $1 per burger in revenue today, they'll probably bring in $3 in revenue in the future. But when McDonald's is free, for example, and you're not speaking, there's no cash transaction, people are going to go through the drive-through more quickly.
Yeah, the other thing is McDonald's own marketing costs collapse. They don't have to pay because they are literally being supported by their own advertisers.
Exactly. And so again, it doesn't have to be junk food. The same thing could go for organic food. And so, but that sort of model, these sort of processes, free vending machines, when I was in London, I had it came out to $7 US. It was like £5+ pounds, but an organic pizza that was made for me in under 3 minutes in a vending machine. And it was just a Naples style pizza. It's got the oven in there. It was amazing. You could kind of see through the machine and watch the whole process. You could create amazing things in a vending machine. And so same thing, all those snacks that are usually in the vending machines, from Waters to Snickers bars, those are really easy to make free. You just put advertising on the vending machine. Someone's within their own app. You watch a few ads, you get a QR code, you walk up to that vending machine, boop, you get your snack.
So it's a movement. How do our listeners learn more and get involved?
So right now, the best way that anyone can help us is to come to our website, freewater.io, and subscribe and reach out. We're also we're looking for influencers, and so we do not have enough water to give to every single person who is subscribed. So We're really trying to send it to the right people. We've had some amazing luck sending our water to some TikTok influencers and Instagram influencers so far. Reach out. We'll send you a 24-pack. Subscribe. If you know.
Okay, so you can literally get some free water by visiting the site. That is okay. Great. Great. Now this is a radical and it sounds kind of crazy idea, but I have seen many radical and crazy ideas turn into real things. So, Josh, I want to keep in touch and learn more about this as your company grows.
And yeah, likewise. And thanks for having me, Mitch. I really appreciate it.
Well, folks, we've been talking with Josh Clifford. He's the founder of FreeWater, an Austin, Texas-based company with a very big idea. We encourage you to check them out at www.freewater.io. Maybe take a moment and order some advertising-based water. I don't know about you, but this is really an interesting idea. On the one hand, it kind of sounds like the world Blade Runner describes, or the cartoon Rick and Morty. On the other hand, it does use the tracking that we currently associate with advertising to optimize the economy. And that's something, as Josh pointed out, that we have plenty of room to do. Making this entire system more efficient, and by factoring in sustainability considerations along with that efficiency, we can make a real impact on our how we touch the planet in order to maintain a prosperous society. This is Earth911 Sustainability in Your Ear. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe, and we're going to be back with another innovator interview soon. But if you would take a moment and share this podcast or others that you find interesting with a friend, we would appreciate it. Let's spread the word and get everyone thinking. More ideas will create less waste. Let's all take care of ourselves, take care of one another, and of course, take care of this beautiful planet. Have a green day, and we'll be back soon.